All right, so today we're going to be talking about being a peer support specialist and some of the skills that we use to engage participants. My colleague and I, Graydon Provence, and myself, Jonathan Clemente, will be presenting. We're both certified peer recovery specialists. Deb Rhoda was also helpful in generating some of the content for this presentation. So looking forward.
There are several objectives that we have in place for this presentation. We want to illustrate how peer support specialists engage with participants. We want to inspire other team members to consider how aspects of peer support specialist engagement could be applied to their respective roles. We want to help team members identify participants who may benefit from interacting with a peer support specialist. And we want to help to recognize the benefits of how having a peer support specialist on your team may aid struggling participants.
So first off, rapport. Rapport is one of the most important things that we found when working with a participant. And this is keeping in mind that sometimes the last thing a person wants to talk about is their treatment, the illness, the diagnosis, the medication. So we really want to kind of get to the crux of what someone is passionate about, just like you would any person that you met, on a first encounter. What are they interested in? What do they like to do for fun? What makes them tick? What do they get excited talking about?
The key to building rapport is effective listening. Our objective is to understand their experience and goals. Yet active listening illustrates that attention is being paid to the participant, while reflective listening confirms that the participant is being understood. Body language is a great indicator of attention. We want to treat the client as if they're the most important person in the world when we engage with them, and what they say is of utmost importance.
Once you have a feel for what they're talking about and maybe what they're interested in, you can start to engage and activate. One of the advantages of being a peer support specialist is that not everything has to happen in an office. You can get the paintbrushes out and maybe visit an art studio or create an art studio, play a video game, play a sport. And sometimes these activities can open the doors of communication and get the ball rolling to actually see in real time what someone is actually passionate about. And it gets away from the whole medical model and just talking about medication and maybe like the downside of having a mental health diagnosis, and gets them in doing things that can kind of get them outside of themselves and help them live in the moment. So you want to see them as experts in their life experience. And the truth is that they're an expert in their story and in their life history. And a lot of times they're experts on the activities that they're interested in as well.
When appropriate, lived experience is one of our most powerful tools. Using discretion, we introduce elements of our own personal recovery journey as it is relevant to what they are going through. Our sharing of elements of our story can lower defensiveness and encourage them to open up. When you're self-disclosing, it's always very important to make sure you're doing so to help the client and not for your own needs.
As Grady was saying, our personal disclosure as peer supports, which is kind of rooted in part of our mission, can lower the defensiveness of the individual we're working with, and that might lead them to feel more comfortable opening up about themselves. And so with the ball being in their court, you have a chance to hear their perspective, and it might be radically different, or just putting yourself in their shoes, it might be a little bit uncomfortable at first. They may not see things the way the treatment team does, or maybe the way you do, but it can be a catalyst for understanding, and that's really what we're going for.
And one of the things that we really want to listen to in the self-disclosure from the clients is identifying strengths. Many participants may feel as if they don't have a lot to offer. We want to help them to see their strengths and aptitudes. Strengths can be present in many different places, such as hobbies and interests. And we're well aware that a strength-based approach can build confidence, which is critical to the path of recovery.
And having a perspective of their strengths, you can start to build on goals. And as peer support specialists, we want to work for the goals that they're focused on. Again, sometimes, a treatment team, with good motives might feel that they have a handle on the goals, but we really want to pay attention to what are the specific goals of that participant. And sometimes they may differ from the treatment team's goals for the participant or the employment specialist. And a lot of times the peer support specialist might be the first to hear about how the authentic goals of an individual, maybe in goals that are a little bit different from the treatment team. It might be an opportunity to exercise shared decision-making and sort of give like a collaborative effort to where people want to work, where they're willing to work towards or what they're willing to work towards, and to stay grounded in that approach.
When dealing with goals, it's important to respect obstacles. We don't diminish the challenges a participant may perceive, even if they seem minuscule to us. We want to utilize empathy to try to put ourselves in their shoes. And remember that Rome wasn't built in a day.
Creating action steps is also, it's similar to goals, but it's actually movement in the direction towards the goal. As peer support specialists, we don't give directives. We don't command people to do things. We don't try to get peers to do stuff. We try to work on the steps that the individual is ready to take and build momentum off of that. And sometimes even just a little action step can go a long way. Maybe they're not ready to go to, say, like a recovery support meeting, like a NAMI meeting or a 12-step meeting. But maybe it's just about like making the phone call to the NAMI office and just asking, hey, when are the support group meetings taking place? Or where is the nearest like 12-step meeting in my neighborhood? And so sometimes little steps can procure like big results. And be patient and see where someone is willing to go.
Finally, it's important to check in and follow through with clients. We want to demonstrate that we remember a participant's disclosure by referring back to their goals or how our interaction with them went. We want to reinforce the positive gains made in the path of recovery.
So Grady and I have prepared a little bit of a dialogue, just kind of illustrating some of the dynamic of what a peer support specialist interaction might look like. And so if you'll allow us, I'm going to be serving as the peer support specialist and Grady will be the participant. And so we just have this dialogue prepared. So, hey man, I'm Jonathan from the FEP team, and I got your text to stop by this afternoon. Your therapist, Paul, mentioned that he was working with you, right? I do peer support. Did anyone talk to you about what that is?
No one has really talked to me about what peer support is.
Okay, right on. Peer support is a sort of mentoring. So I've been through certain experiences with my mental health that may be similar to what you've gone through, and I try to relate some of those experiences for your benefit. Anyway, forget about all that for now. So what do you like to do for fun?
Well, I like to play video games.
You play video games? Cool. I don't play too much, but I know a few things. What do you like to play?
RPGs mainly.
Okay, you're gonna have to remind me what that stands for.
Role-playing games, man. I thought you said you knew a little something about gaming.
That's right. Hey, would you be willing to show me a little bit about one of these RPGs rather than just tell me what it's all about? I could maybe experience it firsthand with you.
Sure, we could do that. Why don't you come downstairs and I'll show you where I'm at.
Okay, right on. So tell me about your character.
Well, that's Xandar. He's the level 5 druid magician, chaotic nature and disposition.
Wow, man, he looks rad. You must have put a lot of work into designing him. Hey, I don't want to bombard you with a bunch of questions about your treatment, but how have things been going for you?
Honestly, I wish I didn't have to take these stupid meds. I really don't like the way they make me feel. My parents say I get kind of funny when I'm off of them, but I don't really see it. I just want to chill and play video games, to be honest. Ever since I got out of the hospital, I feel like a zombie. It's totally frustrating. Man, I'm stuck.
Sounds like a lot to go through. I bet it's difficult to imagine getting past those feelings. You've been through so much. I went through some tough times too, but I certainly didn't think I'd be where I am today. I spent 3 weeks at Heartland, but it took me a lot longer to put the pieces together.
You were at Heartland? Were you working there?
No, I'm not working there. I was a patient. See, like I was saying earlier, I have a mental health diagnosis too. I was hospitalized at Heartland for 3 weeks after my first episode of psychosis.
For real. I did a couple weeks myself. The food was decent, but I had all kinds of side effects from the meds.
Well, that sounds pretty challenging. Yeah, I got some side effects too. To be honest with you, I just take the meds because I want to stay out of the hospital. I can't risk another episode. I'm really impressed with your attitude and willingness to keep on working for the kind of life you want. I heard you show up for almost all your appointments. That's serious commitment.
Honestly, I wish this whole thing would just blow over. I want my parents off my case. They're in all my business since my episode. I don't know if it's the meds or just the intensity of my episode, but I've just felt flat emotionally for like the last 3 months.
Yeah, I think I get what you're saying. Sounds kind of like what I went through. There were days, not even a few years ago, where I just sit in my counselor's office with nothing to say, feeling absolutely numb. I didn't want to see anyone or do anything. Does that resonate?
It most definitely does. I mean, I show up for my appointments, but I haven't been able to open up to anyone. And I almost never go out of the house to see my friends anymore. I don't know, man. What do you think of this game?
Geez, while we've been playing this, I've been amazed at how complicated gaming actually is. You're managing like 12 different inventories for building materials. You have your settings regarding health and overall gameplay. You've got to know how the mods interact. I'm not sure if I could do this on my best day. Mine is in way better shape than you might think.
Before all this happened, I had thought about becoming an IT tech.
Yeah, I know it can be difficult to imagine getting out into the world again and getting past all this, but getting to know you, I think you've got a lot of strengths that could lead you to getting the kind of life you want. Your thinking, like I said, is certainly in good shape. I mean, you've been pointing out all these mistakes the server companies are making in these games. If you did work or go back to school, how would your life change?
Well, maybe it would help me to get out of my parents' basement and into my own place. While I respect that they've done a lot for me, I'm tired of living here with them and it's rough. Most of my old friends are away in college while I'm stuck back here.
Yeah, it would be a big step. Sounds like you've gone through a lot and it would feel like a big risk to do things differently. But imagine the sense of freedom you would have in having your own place.
You're like the first person to see things from my point of view. Like, I'm tired of hearing about mental illness this and medication that. I'm willing to take a med, but I really just want to get on with my life and start doing things again.
Yeah, I went through this ticket to work program and it helped me manage that transition. I think the professionals used to say something like you had to recover to work, but now they're saying that work is a part of recovery. My experience is kind of with the latter. Hey, we have a person on our team, Olivia, who works with people on employment and education. Would you be willing to talk to her and just have a conversation about your goals?
My parents have always felt like gaming was just a waste of time. I'm glad you're able to make the connection to see that I'm actually doing something down here. I always felt that these skills are transferable in some way. Okay, I'd be open to talking to that employment person, but do you think maybe you could come with me? I mean, it seems like you really get my situation.
Yeah, I'd be honored to go with you. And I'm looking forward to collaborating with you on seeing some action steps we can take to make this happen. And keep in mind, as you meet with Olivia, it's just about information. You're just gathering information, and you can make a decision about what ultimately works best for you. But great, I'll have her set something up for us.
Thanks, man. I appreciate it.
For sure. See you soon. So that illustrates just some of the dynamics of, what as peer support specialists we're working towards. And in closing, we hope that we have illustrated a little bit about what peer support specialists do to engage participants. And we hope we have inspired you to consider how aspects of peer support specialist engagement could be applied to the roles that you work in. We're hoping also that you maybe have identified some participants, maybe on your caseload, that might benefit from working or interacting with a peer support specialist. And then also, we hope that you realize the benefits of how having a peer support specialist on your team might help struggling participants. So without anything further, I turn it back over to Crystal. Thank you for your attention.